It is good for man to not live alone, and woman too. You know, I mean, we really were meant and created to live together. We really were. It's where our greatest joy. It's what allows us to survive all calamities and find just great peace and love in life, and we do it together.
It's sort of true that your life, you go through different phases of your life. The arc of our marriage, you know, over 33 years has been like that, you know, in a lot of ways.
Hollywood doesn't portray it the right way.
The people that get divorced, they're thinking about, I can do better than this. You know, they just think in terms of that, you know, what's in it for me? And like I say, that commitment and mutual respect, but it's that commitment to each other. And like they say in the marriage vows, in good times and bad times, because there's going to be both. And if you think it's only going to be good times, then that's not reality.
I think it's easy to lose track of that and start looking at the differences until that's all that you see. And then when all you see is somebody who's completely opposite, then you might say, I chose the wrong person. But I think that's actually a myth. I think we just lose sight of the person who we fell in love with.
Cheryl was a wild child. I got married when I was 19. I had the attitude that when you're married, you never argue, you never fight. It was some magical thing that happened with the vows, that you were never mean to each other. There were not different opinions, you just meshed.
I grew up in a large family, 4 boys, 4 girls, mom and dad. My parents were married the full duration. It was in Boyle Heights. As my mom and dad got older and more kids, there were arguments. And so as far as marriage goes, I knew you had arguments, but I also knew that my mom and dad stayed together. So I see a lot of families in the neighborhood. There were all these children. There were all these single women. They would take up with men and they would move in, and then you'd have the kids, and the kids were all from different fathers, and we never saw that. One mom, one dad, one home, same schools, same faith. That really gave me my foundation.
My parents had 8 kids, had 9 and lost 1. And so they did what all good parents do after you have that many kids. They got divorced. My mom raised us, mostly, and the family got dispersed pretty quickly. So we were just left to our own devices. I learned from an early age, watching sort of some of the craziness around with my family and everything, to be self-sufficient. That was my lesson that I learned. Also, that I would like to have a good family, and one that was not going to end, in divorce. That was a quest, to have a stable family life and to have a marriage that was whatever successful means.
And then I grew up the complete opposite, in a big, fat Italian family with all my cousins and aunties and uncles, and right here was my backyard. Grew up just surrounded by a bunch of loving people who I adore still. My parents were married for over 30 years. My mother died 25 years ago, so they would still be married today if she was still alive.
My parents married very young. My mother eloped Christmas of her senior year of high school. A year later, I was born. My dad was very expressive and very touchy-feely with my mom. She'd be in the kitchen cooking, and he'd sneak up behind her and wrap his arms around her and start nuzzling at the back of her neck and stuff. She'd go, Jim, get off me. I got work to do or whatever. But so I just remember these constant signs of affection between them all the time, no matter kind of what they were going through and the struggles they went through between jobs and careers and owning small businesses and everything. But there was just a tenacity to their relationship that they just, they knew it was just the two of them.
In New Orleans, my parents lived in a small town called Bridge City. they are a mixed marriage in terms of religion. So my mom is Baptist and my dad is Catholic. You think the black and white thing was bad, the religious thing was horrible. So my mom went to different priests, and the priests, she went to 2 priests and they said, no, we're not marrying you. And then she went to the 3rd one, and he asked her one question. He goes, do you love the Lord? And she goes, of course. And he goes, well, do you promise to raise the children Catholic? And she goes, of course, Father, I will. And my mom is a woman of her word. She signed the papers and got a church booked. My mom and dad gave us the best that they could give for the circumstance. It must have scared my mom and dad to send their only black child. I was always the only black child for a long time. It must have scared them to death to leave me in a room with all white children. They never went out. I don't ever remember them going out to dinner together or anything, but they always had us. They always were with us. That was who we were as a family. And I appreciate that. And I think their commitment of wanting the best for us is what I think I bring.
Very often it is common to look at others as sort of the candidates they're looking for and the qualities that they have. And it's important to do that because you have to have certain standards and qualities. Is the person a person of faith, of character, of virtue, and all of these things. But the other thing we often forget to do is to start forming ourselves to be the best as a future husband or wife, and to really start building ourselves up. And very often people tell us, oh, we wish that you could be as happy as you were on your wedding day.
When John and I got married, we remember people saying to us, oh, you're happy now, but just wait. And we said, you know what? We beg to differ.
Big Catholic family, moved to Florida. I'm the youngest of 8 kids. Went to Catholic schools until actually I was in 10th grade. And for kind of a complicated reason, I moved over into public school, which the good news is, I think the only good thing that came out of my school experience was meeting my wife.
I'm the youngest of 3 girls. Protestant family, but a very safe and nurturing, wonderful home. So we've actually been together since the end of our senior year of high school. A few breakups in between there, and between then and getting married, but have known each other and been in one another's life for about 40 years now.
I think what we experienced wasn't so unique. It was, I mean, everybody experiences difficult in marriage. When we anticipate everything great, we do a great disservice to ourselves. And I think you always try to do what you can to prepare for life.
I think that there's other marriages and other relationships that probably have a lot smoother sailing than what we have had because of just our underlining, personalities and our point of origin. And
we grew apart.
I remember sitting on the side of the bed and telling Joe, I can do this alone. We have to figure this out, but I know that I can do this alone.
I came from this wild background that being married didn't mean a whole lot. I never ever thought that I would find another partner for life.
Thomas Aquinas is like, love is willing the good of the other. Like whatever's best for him is going to make our marriage better because I'm going to try to make that happen. And I've grown through it. Like a lot of times it was really hard. We could have like 40 years of marriage bliss if we just get through this valley. If we just work through this, but if we don't work through it, we'll never know.